Right, so Tyson Fury has done a few bits of media this week ahead of his huge rematch, the showdown with unified and up until very recently undisputed heavyweight world champion Oleksandr Usyk on December the 21st in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. On Saturday night, he appeared as a guest on TNT Sports where he spoke about the first fight between himself and Usyk and revealed his game plan for the rematch on December 21st. So in this video, we are going to hear what the Gypsy King had to say. I am going to give my thoughts on all of it, and if you enjoy the content, I need you lot to hit the like button and to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it.
I'm ready to rock and roll. Listen, I don't need a 12-week camp. I've been boxing all my life. I'm ready to go tonight, tomorrow, next weekend, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday. It doesn't really matter. I can come in the ring at 30 stone and do 15 rounds. I'm a natural at it. Do you know what I mean?
Now, I could be reading in between the lines a little bit here, but you notice Tyson Fury mentions the weight straight away there without actually even being questioned on it. And I think a lot of us, including myself, actually felt that going into the Usyk fight, Tyson Fury could be best served coming in lighter and therefore being able to be on his toes a little bit more with Oleksandr Usyk, much like he was in the first Deontay Wilder fight or even in his fight against Vladimir Klitschko. And that weight may have served him best if Usyk had decided to box with a similar game plan to, let's say, how David Haye did against the much taller man when he boxed Nikolai Valuev, or perhaps if the fight had played out in a similar way to probably the most comparable fight to date in Fury's career when he fought former cruiserweight champion Steve Cunningham. Now, everyone remembers that fight for the Steve Cunningham knockdown on Tyson Fury and the eventual Tyson Fury stoppage on Steve Cunningham. But what is forgotten about that fight is the fact that Tyson Fury had to spend a lot of time moving forwards in that one, cutting off the ring and being quick and therefore possibly even light enough to fire back in answer when Cunningham would opt to move in and out of the pocket with his quick flurries. The difference is, though, Usyk didn't opt to box with those tactics. Oleksandr Usyk came out to look and take center of the ring from round one. And if Tyson Fury believes that Oleksandr Usyk is going to come into the rematch and box with those same tactics, then maybe he feels it's best served to come in heavier for this one. Now, the presence of Tyson Fury's father, John Fury, being both in and around the camp and even in the corner on the night is one that was heavily questioned after the fight. And I'm really intrigued to see what his involvement is next time out. But remember, this fight against Oleksandr Usyk was the lightest that Tyson Fury had weighed in at for a fight in nearly 5 years, dating all the way back to when he boxed Otto Wallin. Now, that fight was in America and John Fury was in the TNT, what I think at the time was BT Sports Studios, covering the fight back in the UK. And after the fight, he ripped Tyson Fury's then coach Ben Davison to pieces, stating that he would get rid of the entire team. And I'm not actually able to find the clip. I don't know whether it's been taken off the internet, but I've got a quote here from John Fury when he stated what happened is he got down to 254 pounds and his strength and power has gone with it. That wasn't Tyson. He was weak as a kitten from the first round. So bearing in mind, Tyson Fury in this fight has once again come up against the southpaw, who once again has opted to be aggressive and come forward. And for the best part of 5 years, he's weighed the lightest that he has in that time. He actually only weighed, I think it was 8 pounds more for the Usyk fight than he did for that Otto Wallin fight, which obviously in heavyweight terms isn't that much, but over time, when you get into your 30s especially, you do naturally become heavier and naturally become a little bit bigger. You would imagine that definitely John Fury, and depending on how much influence he has within the camp, Tyson Fury would feel that he may be best served coming in heavier next time round against the lighter man in Oleksandr Usyk. Now, Fury came in about 20 pounds heavier for his rematch with Deontay Wilder than he did in the first fight, and actually that saw him weigh in at 273 pounds, which is only 10 pounds heavier than he weighed in against Oleksandr Usyk. Once again, in heavyweight terms, not all that much. But I think most of us would agree that that's probably the best performance we've seen from Tyson Fury in recent years, which lead me to believe that that could be a really good weight for Tyson Fury to come into the rematch against Oleksandr Usyk at. But for me, I don't necessarily think that weight will be the difference maker here. It will more so be the tactics. Now, we all punch harder when we're heavier. Believe me, I know that out of camp when I'm maybe 15 pounds heavier than I would be in the last week of camp when I'm nearly on fight weight, I punch a lot harder on the pads. And maybe Tyson Fury feels like if he was heavier and he was to hit Oleksandr Usyk with one of those uppercuts that he stunned him with in the 6th round, with the added weight, that would be enough to stop or at least drop the Ukrainian. But I also know that my feet are slower when I'm heavier, and the fact that Tyson Fury wasn't able to drop or stop Oleksandr Usyk in that moment had more for me to do with the feet than it did the power. Because I believe that Oleksandr Usyk has an underrated chin, and when Fury started to land some of his power shots on him, he never stayed and traded. He used every single inch of the ring, and he accepted that he would need to box on the back foot to be able to regain himself rather than standing and firing punches back in that moment in time against Fury. Now listen, coming from someone who's just suffered a points loss in a fight in which I had a very tricky time in pinning down a back foot southpaw, I can assure you it's very, very hard. Sometimes these guys can go on the back foot once you've hit them with a big shot, and if your legs are heavy, if your legs are tired at that moment in time, it can become a game of cat and mouse, and that game of cat and mouse can become really, really difficult. And that is the exact reason why I believe that Tyson Fury has one option in which he approaches this fight that gives him a far better chance than boxing with an alternative game plan. However, we will get onto that one as Tyson goes on to reveal it himself.
All I need is 5 or 6 weeks sparring, good sparring this time, where I've not got a cut that's going to open up. And we're worried about the cut so much in camp because there was a massive payday on this cut. And the cut wasn't even a factor in the fight. So now, pushed it, can't wait.
But it was a factor in the preparation.
Listen,
in your mind,
it's always. It was only 3 months, 12 weeks before. I had 16-inch cut across my left eye. It took maybe 7 or 8 weeks for the cut to try and heal up, and then another 6-7 weeks training. But it's always a risk of it opening up and then you lose your big dough. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. We can't deny it. Anyone who thinks that the cut was fake and that Tyson Fury had done it himself or it was old footage or something like that because it was grainy and it was done in a way to afford Tyson Fury more time to prepare for this fight, in my opinion, is just stupid. Take it from someone who's boxed themselves, albeit at a level 1,000 times lower than what Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk box at. You don't fake an injury, and especially you don't cut yourself, and therefore I don't think there's any substance to those rumours and stories that people have said before in the past. I actually think that if you look at Tyson Fury's career so far, especially the Wilder trilogy, he has gone into fights without ideal preparation before, so it would show you that that is something he'd be willing to do, and the main reason he would be willing to do it, as he stated in that clip, which is very honest, in my opinion, is money. Now, when something goes wrong late on in camp, you pretty much have 2 options, don't you? And that is to fight or not to fight. If something happened to me, I would just risk losing out on the payday if I wasn't to fight. But Tyson Fury is obviously in a better position than that, and he had the option or the ability to be able to postpone the fight, and therefore to give him more time to recover and to prepare. But those 2 things, recovery and preparation, don't exactly go hand in hand now, do they? You're either recovering or you're preparing, and if you're trying to do both of those things simultaneously, I believe that at least one and possibly both of those things are going to suffer as a result of that, which is exactly what I believe Tyson Fury did have to do in order to not miss out on that payday for the Usyk fight. I mean, he's even alluded to it there when he said about good sparring, and I think that we would agree that probably you're going to have to drop the level of your opponents that you're sparring against intense down ever so slightly, or maybe even a fair bit if you've got that cut and if you are thinking about the risk of that cut opening up. If you are sparring with Jai Opataya like Fury was previously before the cut happened, maybe you're not going to get that level of intensity and level of quality of sparring partner back in when you are trying to avoid being hit there because of the fear that the cut could open up and you could then lose the payday.
I'm going to go in there with destroy mode. Last time I went to box him and I was being cautious and I was boxing head right off him. Let's talk facts. Anyone can get caught, as we see in a lot of these heavyweight fights. But this time, I'm not going for a points decision. I'm going to knock a motherfucker out.
Now, I've said we would get onto the game plan, and there you go. Tyson Fury has revealed it there. And as much as I have said at times that you do need to take Tyson Fury's words with a pinch of salt, just trust me here. I believe that Tyson Fury is being completely transparent and completely honest with his words there. Because I am of the opinion that Tyson Fury needs to roll the dice from the opening bell in this fight. Because Oleksandr Usyk has a great trait, especially at heavyweight, of being able to wear his opponents down. And the way in which Oleksandr Usyk does this, and especially did it against Tyson Fury, was on the front foot with both footwork and consistent pressure. Now, the pressure means that you have to be both physically and mentally engaged constantly at all times, which is draining in itself. But the footwork allows Oleksandr Usyk to absorb a lot less damage than, let's say, Tyson Fury had to risk absorbing in his rematch with Deontay Wilder, because Oleksandr Usyk is fleet-footed enough to be in and out with that pressure. And the fact that Usyk did this so effectively for the first 3 rounds or so in his fight with Tyson Fury meant that when Tyson Fury started to find his groove a lot more, in my opinion, and take over the fight, albeit not completely dominating, but winning the rounds from 4 and 5 onwards, this was a weaker and probably more drained version of Tyson Fury in comparison to how his energy levels were at in those same rounds in previous fights. And therefore, when Fury's chance really came in the fight in round 6, when he lands the beauty of a counter uppercut on Usyk and it forces him to chase him down, he's chasing him down with half of the energy and half of the zap that he would usually be used to at that same point in another fight. And therefore, if Oleksandr Usyk is able to get through those moments, he's going to have an advantage going into the later rounds, which is pretty much what played out on the night. So this is the reason why I say that Tyson Fury needs to roll the dice, because gambling is completely unavoidable, in my opinion, in the rematch if Tyson Fury wants to win this fight. Tyson needs to make that round 6 moment come way sooner for him than the halfway point in the fight. And Tyson Fury now knows that Oleksandr Usyk can hurt him, as he did in round 9. Oleksandr Usyk now knows that Tyson Fury can hurt him, as he did in round 6. But take it from someone who's got no problem with admitting that I am a self-proclaimed fan of Tyson Fury. I have been for pretty much Tyson Fury's whole boxing career, and I do understand a lot of the psychology that goes behind Tyson Fury's words and what Tyson Fury does in his fights, having studied him for so many years. And Tyson Fury will honestly believe that a fresh version of Oleksandr Usyk can't really hurt him that much, but he will believe, going off of what he did in that first fight, that he can hurt a fresh version of Oleksandr Usyk. See, Tyson Fury has never ever been pushed that hard from a cardio aspect in any of his previous fights, and I honestly believe that he will feel like that played a contributing factor as to how Oleksandr Usyk ended up having so much success, having him out on his feet in that 9th round, going across the ring, and obviously all of the key moments and key bits of success that Oleksandr Usyk was having up until that point. And by the way, this isn't me saying this is true. This is me saying that I believe this is how Tyson Fury will be thinking about this fight. So Tyson Fury's best bet could be coming in there, closing the distance, and trading power shots from round 1. And if he can can land something big earlier on than he did in the initial fight, I think that Tyson Fury will believe that with better prep, more energy at that moment in time, and a better understanding, having now shared 12 rounds with the Ukrainian, he can get Oleksandr Usyk out of there. And by the way, this is the reason why I say it's rolling the dice, a phrase that the boxing world has been bombarded with in the last couple of weeks, because if he can land something big on Oleksandr Usyk early on, if you struggle to get through those rounds of Usyk after unloading the clip in rounds 6 and 7, you will definitely make it to struggle through to the final bell if you unload the clip in rounds 1 to 3 and you don't get Oleksandr Usyk out of there, which is why it's a huge gamble. But in the heavyweight division, as Daniel Dubois showed the other night, sometimes you need to make those gambles from the opening bell, and sometimes you need to come out, apply the pressure, and not let your opponent set himself and get into the fight. Now, the task of doing that against Oleksandr Usyk for Tyson Fury, I believe, is a way greater task than Daniel Dubois doing it against Anthony Joshua. But I'm just saying, heavyweight boxing teaches us time in, time out, that the power factor is so far heightened and therefore so much more important than in any other weight division. And if there's ever a division that you can bank on it to happen in, it is at heavyweight. Once again, it doesn't necessarily mean I believe it's going to happen. I will obviously reveal what I think will play out in this fight a lot closer to this fight. But that is how I think that Tyson Fury will approach the fight, and that is how I think that Tyson Fury should approach the fight. And do you know what? I'm so excited for this one. December the 21st in Saudi Arabia. I cannot wait. But before that, we have another huge night of boxing coming to you from Saudi Arabia, when this weekend coming, Dmitry Bivol takes on Artur Beterbiev in a clash for the ages, a card that is absolutely stacked. We're going to be live inside the arena on the Pain Game, covering it once again as we have for the last few Riyadh season events. So I will link the Pain Game in the description to this video. Make sure you are there with us on Saturday night watching along. People, let me know your thoughts on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Smash the like on the video if you think I deserved it, and I will see you all in the next one.